Good day, students. So, we will now discuss sustainable development as one of the community development approaches. Sustainable development. It is the organizing principle for meeting human development goals while simultaneously sustaining the ability of natural systems to provide the natural resources and ecosystem services on which the economy and society depend. The desired result is a state of society where living conditions and resources are used to continue to meet human needs without undermining the integrity and stability of natural system. So in addition to this, sustainable development can be defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainability goals such as the current United Nations level of Sustainable Development Goals addresses the global changes or the global challenges including poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace and justice. And sustainable development is all about meeting the diverse needs of people in different communities, social cohesion, creating equal opportunity to ensure a strong and healthy society. Sustainable development also focuses on finding better ways of doing things without affecting the quality of our life. Well, the modern concept of sustainable development is derived mostly from the 1987 Brundtland Report. It is also rooted in earlier ideas about sustainable forest management and 20th century environmental concerns. As the concept of sustainable development developed, it has shifted. It focused more towards the economic development, social development, and environmental protection for future generations. It has been suggested that the term sustainability should be viewed as humanity's target goal of human ecosystems equilibrium, while sustainable development refers to the holistic approach and temporal processes that lead us to the end point of sustainability. So, in addition to this, the modern economists are endeavoring to reconcile ambitious economic development and obligations of preserving natural resources and ecosystems, as the two are usually seen as the conflicting nature. So instead of holding climate change commitments and other sustainability measures as a remedy to economic development, turning and leveraging clarifications needed them into market opportunities. So the economic development, in other words, increases individuals' resources, reducing dependency on the extended family or group. So this gives people opportunities and means to make choices, enabling them to pursue autonomy and take personal responsibility in accordance to sustainable development. Concept of sustainable development. The concept of sustainable development has been and still is subject to criticism, including the question of what is to be sustained in sustainable development. So it is because sustainable development becomes the object of concern and instead of development. Nature becomes the critical factor to be watched, including some of these challenges like climate change, energy consumption, waste production, threats to public health because of some innovations. So it has also been argued that the meaning of the concept has opportunistically been stretched from conservation management to economic development, and that the Brundtland Report promoted nothing but a business as usual strategy for world development with an ambiguous and as insubstantial concept attached as a public relations slogan. So, in other words, sustainable development has been defined in many ways, but the most frequently quoted definition is from Our Common Future, also known as the Brundtland Report. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Community-driven development. It is a development initiative or clarification needed that provides control of development processes, resources, and decision-making authority directly to groups in the community. So the underlying assumption of community-driven development projects are that communities are the best judges of how their lives and livelihoods can improve, and if provided with adequate resources and information, they can organize themselves to provide for their immediate needs. In addition to this, community-driven development projects works by providing poor communities with direct funding for development, with communities then deciding how to spend the money. Lastly, the community plans and builds the project and take full responsibility for monitoring its progress. Characteristics of community-driven development. Community-driven development programs are motivated by their trust in people, and hence it advocates people changing their own environment as a powerful force for development. So in addition to this, community-driven development is a way of by treating poor people as assets and partners in the development processes. Studies have shown that community-driven development is responsive to local demands, inclusive and more cost-effective compared to the national government organization-based programs. Community-driven development can also be supported by strengthening and financing community groups, facilitating community access to information, and promoting an enabling environment through policy and institutional reform. So we have the first characteristics of CDD projects. A CDD operation primarily targets a community-based organization or a representative local council of a community. So this community focus means that the essential defining characteristics of a CDD project is that the beneficiaries or grantees of implementation are agents of the community. Since the focus on small communities is so large, the CDD normally targets small-scale sub-projects in the community. Next, in CDD operations, community or locally based representation is responsible for designing and planning the sub-projects in a participatory manner. So meaning to say that CDD projects works by providing poor communities with direct funding for development, with the communities then deciding how to spend the money. Lastly, the community plans and builds the project and takes responsibility for monitoring its progress. So since that the concentration on particularly planning is considerable in CDD operations, often the possible types of sub-projects investment options are very large with only a small list of sub-projects that cannot be carried out. Next, the defining characteristics of CDD projects is that a transfer of resources to the community occurs and control of the resources is delegated to the community. So this means that the amount of transfer and control of resources will depend on the CDD projects or the CDD implementation. The CDD programs are motivated by their trust in people, and hence it advocates people changing their own environment as a powerful force for development. and by treating poor people as assets and partners in the development process. Studies have shown that CDD is responsive to local demands, inclusive and more cost-effective compared to central and national government organization-based programs. The community is directly involved in the implementation of sub-projects. So it is often the participation of community comes directly in the form of labor or funds. However, the community may also contribute to the sub-project indirectly in the form of management and supervision of contractors or the operation and maintenance of the infrastructure when complete. Next, an element of community-based monitoring and evaluation has become a characteristic of CDD sub-projects. Most often, it is social accountability tools such as participatory monitoring, community scorecards, and grievance redress systems which allow for the community to ensure accountability of the CDD implementation. Asset-based community development. It is a methodology for the sustainable development of communities based on their strengths and potentials. It involves assessing the resources, skills, and experience availability in a community, organizing the community around issues that moves its members into action, and then determining and taking appropriate actions. So, in other words, this method uses the community's own assets and resources as the basis for development, and it empowers the people of the community by encouraging them to utilize what they already possess. Need-based community development. It emphasizes local deficits and looks to outside agencies for resources. So the need-based community developments, in contrast, in asset-based community development focuses on honing on leveraging existing strength with the community related to the empowerment and postulates that solutions community problems already exist within a community's assets. Principles that guide the asset-based community development includes everyone has gifts. It means that each person in a community has something to contribute. Next, relationship build a community, meaning to say people must be connected in order to or for sustainable community development to take place. Next, citizens at the center, meaning to say citizens should be viewed as actors, not recipients in development. Next, leaders involve others, meaning to say community development is strongest when it involves a broad base of community action. Next, people care, means to say challenging notions of apathy by listening to people's interests. Next, listen. It means to say decisions should come from conversations where people are heard. Next, ask. Asking for ideas is more sustainable than giving solutions. Next, inside-out organizations. The local community members are in control. And lastly, institution serves the community. Means to say institutional leaders should create opportunities for community member involvement, then step back. Community-based participatory research. It is a partnership approach to research that equitably involves community members, organizational representatives, researchers, and others in all aspects of research processes, within all partners in the process contributing expertise and sharing in the decision making and ownership. So the aim of community-based participatory research is to increase knowledge and understanding of a given phenomenon and to integrate the knowledge gained with intervention for policy or social change benefiting the community members. Community organizing. Community organizing is a process where people who live in proximity to each other come together into an organization that acts in their shared self-interest. Unlike those who promote more consensual community building, the community organizer generally assume that social change necessarily involves conflict and social struggle in order to generate collective power to powerless. So community organizing has a core goal, the generation of durable power for an organization representing the community and allowing it to influence the key decision makers on a range of issues over time. So in the ideal, for example, this can get community organizing group a place at the table before important decisions are made. The community organizers work with a developed new local leaders, facilitating coalitions and assisting in the development of campaigns. A central goal of organizing is the development of a robust, organized local democracy, bringing the community members together across differences to fight together for the interests of the community. Community action. Community action involves several methods and strategies. In general, this is comprised of categories of methods and strategies. Just like community organizing, that is the process of building power by involving a constituent or community members in identifying the problems that they share or experience and selecting the solution to the problems to be solved. In addition to this, community organizing requires the community to identify people and structures that can help solve the problem. It also enlists people to join in a community effort through negotiations and, if necessary, confrontation and pressure. Lastly, community organizing further builds an institution that encourages participation, inclusion, and open involvement to further develop capacities, embodying the will and power of the community to address issues and solve problems. Overall, community organizing is dynamic and purposive because it aims to deliver desired results. Community resource management that enables communities to manage their own resources for their benefit. This process takes into account the participation of local people, the importance of local knowledge and values, and the emphasis on self-sufficiency and benefit sharing of resources across community members. So in addition to this, it also aims towards communities stakeholders' participation in the planning, research, development, and implementation of community-centered action towards community resources. It is naturally decentralized and characterized by a bottom-up direction of decision-making, giving greater credence to community members who partner with local government officials and external actors such as non-governmental organization and external technical assistance entities. Community education learning. Community education and learning refers to the conscious efforts of members of the community of different ages, gender, and other attributes to develop their skills and capacities to improve the quality of their lives. This may be done through capacity building methods like training, seminars, and workshops that enhance the capability of community members. However, community learning is not only limited to the structured modes of education, it can also refer to the extent by which community members learn from their past lessons and the local experiences that uniquely occurred to their specific location or circumstances. So, however, community learning is not only limited to structured modes of education, it can also refer to the extent by which community members learn from their past lessons and local experiences that uniquely occurred to their specific. Community Action Plan. The Community Action Plan is a roadmap for implementing community change in sanitation and water management by clarifying what will be done, who will do it, and how it will be done. The plan describes what the community wants to achieve, what activities are required during a specified time period, what resources like money, people, and materials are needed to be successful. So, the Community Action Plan is a roadmap for implementing community change in sanitation change and water management. For example, the Community Action Plan should become a framework for implementing the activities that are decided by the community itself. The focus is more on the process of understanding and overcoming problems in order to rebuild the people's lives rather than just physical development, such as building houses, providing clean water or toilet facilities. It is important to understand that the community should be the main actors in preparing their own community action plan. So, by producing the action plan, it helps people to take realistic and concrete steps toward participatory development planning in order to improve sanitation and water system, for example, and by bringing everyone together to think and discuss about resources and group involvement. So this tool increases the awareness. A community action plan is a roadmap for implementing community change by identifying the specific what will be done, who will do it, and how it will be done. In other words, the action plan describes what the community wants to accomplish. Okay. Advantages of community action plan. Strong participation of local community regarding sanitation and water issues. By implementing community action plans, the solution for problems comes from the community itself, hence considers primarily their needs and priorities. Guarantees that all relevant groups participate in the activities, particularly the women and the other community groups that are often forgotten, and guarantees that the acceptance and support of the solution by the local community. This advantage requires time and resources to integrate all the relevant stakeholders in the process. Finding consensus among all the community members can take ages or might be impossible. Community action plans are not going to be developed without strongly motivated and encouraged local community members. Community profiling. Community profiling provides advocates with a descriptive insight about attributes and conditions in the community. It typically involves the use of information concerning the characteristics of a community, such as its demographic distribution or the land profile of the community, material resources, territory, institutions, local economy, and a description of community's history and culture. A community profile helps community members be informed about the physical, socio-political, and material characteristics of their community to collectively act in addressing its issues and problems. Problems and issues in community planning. Community action and community planning always comes with problems and issues. These are several reasons and factors that can cause community action and planning to fail. So these factors may be innately present in the communities, or they may also be elements found outside communities. So for instance, some community members refuse to be involved or to cooperate due to previous experiences in community planning. So others repeal the idea of community initiatives, thinking that collective actions is problematic because these are individuals that free ride and take advantage of the goodwill and contribution of other members. Furthermore, resources constraints such as the depletion of funds, for example, the concentration of control of resources to a few individuals only, or inaccessibility of tools and technologies necessarily for the successful completion of intervention have proven to create gaps and problems in the effectiveness of the community projects. Politically, the division in the functions in the leadership, the lack of coordination, inadequacy competencies, and slow-moving bureaucratic procedures have also impeded the progress of community initiatives. So finally, external factors such as the interference and the local politicians, traditional elites, and the violent interventions of armed groups have constrained participation, voluntarism, and community action.